Welcome to The Downside. My name is Gianmarco Soresi. I'm here with my co-host, Russell Daniels.
Hi.
Russell, a very belated congratulations. The sketch you wrote for Tiffany Haddish and Ari Spears has been getting a lot of traction. We're really proud of you.
Oh, good one.
Russell, for those, I'm sure you've seen it on my Instagram or his Instagram.
Sure.
Russell was brought in, last minute replacement.
Yep.
Because the cast member got COVID. You've been in the off. Is it considered off Broadway?
Yeah, it's off Broadway.
Off Broadway.
Well,
show.
no, it's off Broadway. It's the contract is off Broadway.
Great. Is your thing recording?
Yeah.
Okay. Titanic at Improv Asylum. Yeah, how you feeling?
I'm feeling very tired.
You went in. You got it. You were in a cabin.
So I went away for Labor Day. I was in a cabin
with Douglas
our
Goodhart,
friend Douglas, who sometimes
people are increasingly familiar with.
I know,
and love.
I know. I'm like, oh, am I going to get ousted from?
It would be fitting. You filled in for someone else. He filled in for you.
But yeah, so I was with Douglas and a couple other friends, and then I woke up on Monday, Labor Day, hungover, and I had an email being like, can you jump into Titanic this week? I knew, I auditioned for it in the spring and I was like in the final running for it. But then I came back to New York that night, started rehearsals, and 2 days later I did the show for this whole weekend. I'm doing it this upcoming week.
And you were prepping intense.
I mean, it's a full musical. It was, and I hadn't done a musical in over 10 years. So it's, it's not a lot. I don't have like big things singing myself, but it's a lot of like ensemble singing and whatnot, and moving while you sing. And it was I've never had that experience. It's kind of, so that was part of the reasoning of doing it was, well, this is gonna be a fun story to be like, I just wanted to have that experience of like, you have 2 days,
sure,
learn a 90-minute musical in 2 days and then do it. And
were you stressed? Were you?
I cried. I cried multiple times, and I didn't think that I would be. I'm not one of those people that like. I'm usually a busy person. I keep myself busy.
I've never seen you cry.
But I felt insane. I mean, I still haven't gotten like a normal night's sleep. Because we have these Uncle Function shows. I have work. I have now I'm doing Titanic this week. So But I had to learn the whole show in one day, the moving, the singing and whatnot. And then I was going to see the show that night and to be it. And I was like, so I learned it all. I was like, okay, well, there's 2 hours before the show starts. So I'm going to rent a rehearsal room and go through everything I learned. And I just laid on the floor in the rehearsal room and I was like, I don't remember what I did. So I'll just listen to the music and like try to like follow along and try to blah, blah, blah. But that was overwhelming to me because I was like doing it and I was like, oh, I can't even get this first number right. And so I was like getting really worked up. And then I was like, oh God, I have to go to the show and see it. And so I went to the show and I was sitting there and it's like, so it's a super campy, super gay musical. A lot of, but it's kind of like a cult like fan base is growing around it, and people are.
It's like Titanic, but like it's a parody, I guess, of Titanic. Where Celine Dion is a character in the Titanic, and it's very flamboyant. And there's a big RuPaul's Drag Race segment. That your parents did not understand.
No,
I'm sure.
No, they didn't. But people are excited. So like it's a fun crowd. People are. So I'm in this crowd. Everyone's so excited. They're drunk, they're having fun.
Yeah.
And I'm in this crowd waiting for the show to start. And I am sitting there and I'm sitting there being like, I don't know what the first thing is. And I'm supposed to go on like the next day. And I was like, I don't even know what the first thing is. And I started crying. I was just like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this?
And some gay guy sitting next to you like, that's the gayest thing I've ever seen in my life. He's crying at the beginning of the Titanic parody.
No, I hadn't even started yet. Like the overture hadn't played yet. I was just like so nervous. Like I don't know what even I would do first. I don't know where to enter from. I couldn't remember, and it was stressing me out. But it happened. And,
you did a great job,
and it went really well.
I saw the matinee. You had a real scene where you got to like do just fireworks. Just your special.
Yeah. It's a fun
you're screaming higher notes than anyone sung earlier in the show. The funniest part though, it's the first time I've seen honestly you in And luckily, I mean, it was comedic and like campy, but there's a moment in the beginning where you were like sincere and you're acting, and it's surreal to see a friend that you interact with comedically. And I made fun of you for today, where you're on the side, like at the Titanic Museum. Is that where the scene starts? And you're just like kind of looking around like an ensemble member, just like,
well, you know, Gianmarco, I was in
a musical. Russell
I was in a musical.
I know.
I was doing what they do in musicals.
And it was real, but it's so surreal to see someone you're that close with.
Yeah. Who would be like normally making fun of this thing.
Yeah. Or just seeing it at all because you know the person. Yeah. And so it was very funny, but you did phenomenally.
Thank you for coming.
I'm so happy I came.
That was very kind of you to come and support. And I will say this. It was so busy last week and then this week. But it was really cool to be able to just be in a rehearsal doing a live show. And then when I wasn't there, I was doing Uncle Function stuff and having fun with you guys. So it was like a nice week of like theater, you know, it was nice to have. I don't know if I'd like to do it all the time, but it was like, I felt very like, it was nice. It felt healthy.
Well, we're here with our guest.
Yeah.
Michael Jenkins. Have you ever had anyone in kitchens? Do they have someone, opening of a restaurant, the so-and-so gets sick, so they need someone to fill in quick?
Like a sous chef.
Yeah. I mean, it happens on a regular basis. Like the problem with restaurants is that they're like ongoing. So like, it's not like, a run of show will be from this time to this time. It's, we're going to stay open until they shut us down. So like people will call out or be too hungover to work or cut themselves or burn themselves badly on a pretty regular basis. So like, I mean, that's usually where the chef comes in and they have to do stuff. If the chef's out, then they usually have an understudy, which is the chef de cuisine or the sous chef that has to like step in and do their job. Or it's the type of place where like the chef's never there. So then if like the person that's actually in charge gets hurt, then they're like, hey, you need to leave the Hamptons and come help out at the restaurant.
The Hamptons. Well, to kick off our music, tell us something negative, something shitty, something you don't like, Michael.
The worst thing about being a chef.
The worst thing about being a chef? I'd say, well, I don't know. The worst thing and the best thing are the same thing about being a chef. It's what I like about my medium of art. That like, if I take all my experience and all my pain and anguish and effort and training and creativity and pour it into a dish and it comes out perfectly, it will quite literally turn into human shit within a matter of hours. That's like a best case scenario is that like somebody eats it and poops it later and you're like, oh, there's all of my work right there. It's the single greatest thing
You're listening to The Downside.
It's like, can you imagine Picasso
with Gianmarco
like
Soresi.
Best case scenario, I see that thing floating in a toilet later.
Yeah.
Michael, your headphones working?
Am I screaming?
Did you just hear the music I played?
No.
Oh my God. I was like, that is really impressive that he can carry a conversation while music is playing.
Oh my God. They're not plugged in.
Extremely
my
focused.
God. That is so funny.
I was wondering, I was like, these aren't more helpful.
We're like going,
this is like being on a helicopter, except I can't hear anything. So.
Okay. So here's I'm going to recreate really what just happened. So ask me.
No, you weren't loud. You weren't loud. You were a totally normal voice. But what happened is he played the theme song music and you kept talking because you didn't know music.
So ask us to say what happened last night at the comedy club.
What happened last night at the comedy club?
Well, so I was working on this audition where I was basically talking to an audience member, and one of the audience members was saying to me, "How dare you tell a joke
You're
about
listening
this
to
subject matter?"
The Downside.
And I was like, "Well, then fuck
with
you,
Gianmarco
and fuck your mother, and fuck your whole family."
I really kept thinking that he would like wrap it up.
Nope.
At some point.
I was like,
wow, that's impressive that he's just like, no, fuck.
Nobody ever listens to me. I'm going to tell the whole fucking story.
Theme music, I'm plowing through it.
This is my moment.
Because you said it'll turn to like human shit. And I was like, boom, music. And then you were, Well, we're going to talk all about you in a second. I'm very excited. Thank you for being here. I did want to share one story.
Brother.
And it's, so I'm an actor. I used to be an actor somewhat.
I read this.
Yeah. What'd you say?
I read that online.
Thank you. I had a Google search today. I had a scene. It was for a movie I was submitting an audition for where I play a stand-up comedian, and it's happened once or twice. And you're like, if I can't get this, if I can't get this, And it was basically I was on stage and I do crowd work, and I'm like, Something about any couples here tonight? Ooh, you two, are you a couple? No. Who thinks they're just friends? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you know, be cool. I'll show them. This is how I'll beat the actors auditioning is I will record it in a comedy club on stage with real people. The problem is I'm talking to these empty chairs and I'm asking them rhetorical questions. And so I had to tell the audience, hey guys, and I'm doing this at a club that I have no respect for. So that's how I'm able to do it. Say, hey, I'm auditioning for a movie. Everyone just be normal. Just be normal. Laugh, clap, raise your hand if I say so. But I'm going to talk to these chairs and then just don't be weird. Know that I know I'm not talking to anybody.
Yeah.
So the first time I do it, it's going well. I have to open with a joke, like of my own making. And of course, the audience, now that they know they're acting, they don't laugh at all. They're like, it's just to watch everyone suddenly become the worst actors in the world. Yeah. So I'm like, guys, I'm going to do it again. Joke, laugh. So I do it. And then it's going well. I'm doing the lines. Oh, are you two a couple? Is this just a first date or something? And this woman on the side goes, who the fuck is he talking to? And I was like, okay, fine. So then the next night, I had new audience. I tell the audience what had happened the night before. And I say, someone interrupted it. Just don't do that. Just I know I'm talking to nobody. Yeah. So I do it again, go, are you two dating? And the couple behind the empty chairs that I'm speaking to thinks that I'm talking to them. So they go, yes, we're dating. And I try to barrel forward because it's my last time I can do this. Yeah. So I'm like, are you two more than friends? They're like, no, we're not friends. We're dating. We just said we're dating. And they're like, they keep talking. And I have to cut it and go like, guys, what the fuck? And I made the whole audience. I said, we're going to go back from the top. We're doing a second take. And you're all going to pretend that you're real again.
Who's filming this?
I just put it's my phone in the thing hanging in the back. Yeah. So I think I got it.
Wow.
But it's just
so is that your whole spot that night was filming an audition?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. I mean, truly,
people don't want to cooperate.
They don't.
That's universal.
The moment they think, have you acted ever? Do they we need a real chef for this movie?
No, not since I was the King in The King and I in 5th grade.
How'd you do?
I think I nailed it. They didn't ask me back though.
Sure.
Yeah. 5th grade? 6th grade or?
Yeah, in 6th grade I didn't make. I think I was a tree.
Oh god.
My 5th grade, I think it was a Roman play. I forget what it's called. Do you remember that age? What play you did?
The first play I did, it was in 6th grade. It was called The Best Christmas Pageant Ever, and I was like the son.
I thought it was weird you included it as one of your credits in the playbill for Titanic.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
So Michael, we met. You're friends with Lindsay, my friend Lindsay Elizabeth Hand.
Yes.
And she said, come to this restaurant. We know the guy. He'll make it special. And you did.
That's nice.
You did. It was a big fucking meal.
Oh, I love
it was a gigantic meal.
A Titanic meal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now you are the head. What's the title? Head chef?
So the official title that my business cards used to say was chef de cuisine. The executive chef is a celebrity chef that spends a lot of time filming for Food Network. She tells me, just tell people you're the fucking chef. Just stop at the games. Just say you're the chef. But if things don't go well, I still want to say she's the chef. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
I'm like, I'm just the sous chef.
She created the menu.
Originally.
But
the menu has changed continually. We're very good friends. We talk all the time. So we brainstorm on menu ideas sometimes. I'll take her thoughts and put it into actual food sometimes I don't consult her at all. It's a 20-year relationship.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now you gave us a lot of free shit.
Yeah, that was whatever you ate was coming from whatever was in my brain that day. I think that you probably ate a couple things that were on the menu, but when people come in that I know, that's when I'll just fuck with you.
Sure. But I imagine everyone who meets you, I said to Russell, in fact, I said, be nice. Because you and your wife can go to butter. Maybe you'll get some bonuses. But I'm sure that everyone who meets you and finds out you work at a restaurant thinks they're going to get the treatment.
Yeah.
And do you have anyone who's they're clearly they were expecting a little extra?
Oh, yeah.
Does someone ever, they say something rude, so you're cut off the extra ones? How do you decide? You can't just be giving it to everybody.
I mean, there are two ways that tends to go down. So I've definitely had people say, oh, it's my boyfriend's birthday. And we're like, neat. And then we wait for the dessert order. And we're like, hey, don't forget to put a free candle in that dessert before it gets to the table. And make sure you put it in seat 2 so that they know that we were listening.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, it just says happy birthday. And we're like, yeah, because it's your birthday.
Yeah.
And that's it. And they're like, well, at Bennigan's, they give us a free dessert. And I'm like, oh, well, this is Manhattan.
Yeah.
So that happens. But then there's also like, we'll have celebrity chefs come in. And again, I work with a celebrity chef. So I'm accustomed to her. Like, I know how much they make. I'm not going to send you anything for free unless unless we're really close, I guess. So I've definitely had a celebrity chef come in and be like, when the server says, hi, do you guys have any food allergies? They're like, please, no extras. And they're like, no, we ask everybody. We're not sending you anything extra. We know your net worth.
And the celebrity chefs, they're just coming there to eat. They hear it's a good restaurant.
Yeah, they're coming there to eat or just because they're in that neighborhood and to support, I suppose. And that's awesome. But I learned a long time ago, like, don't send them anything. They get sent stuff everywhere that they go, so they won't get it from me.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. Who's your most favorite celebrity chef? I mean, how do you feel
of all time?
Yeah.
Dead, live, in between.
Michael White is way up there. He's a rock star. In terms of celebrity that are on TV, like I don't like that's a different category. I always tell. So again, my celebrity chef is an Iron Chef, Alex Marinichelli. I tell her on a regular basis, my favorite Iron Chef's Morimoto. That guy's amazing.
Oh,
you guys know Morimoto?
Yeah.
Okay, Morimoto's amazing.
Do you watch Japanese a lot of Food Network?
No, but I like know the name from my wife's dad, my father-in-law.
It's a good name,
He's
Morimoto.
A big foodie.
But you've eaten his food.
Yeah.
But
so, that's among celebrities. In terms of chefs, like then it's a list of like, that's like asking like some actor and they start naming like these dead actors you've never fucking heard of. But like for me, it's like Anne-Sophie Pic and Mark Vetri here in the States and Paul Bocuse and there's so many.
Mm-hmm.
Hercules. There are a lot of slave chefs I'm a big fan of.
What was that?
Don't talk much about them. People that were in my mind chefs, but at the time they were called slaves. For instance, Thomas Jefferson and what's the other guy? George Washington. They had people that made them food.
So, but like
they were slaves.
Would their recipes have been like passed down? Like,
yeah. Have you ever had macaroni and cheese?
Sure.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So that would be one of them.
And how were the records kept? Were they found as like cookbooks?
That's the thing. It was like Hercules was known to have only had like a couple recipes credited to his name, but Martha Washington had like a whole Rolodex of hundreds of recipes. And you're like, Martha, were you in the kitchen cooking with the slaves?
Sure.
Were you? That was you. You were making that cornbread. That's your cornbread. You added all those herbs and spices to the chicken. All right, Martha.
And when you see those recipes, is it do you admire it just because they created the meal?
Because you have to think about the time and the place and what they had and what they made. And that's amazing. Like that's, to have so very, very little. I mean, they had great resources as compared to anybody of their ilk because they had a president that was like, go to France, learn some things, come back. And they're like, oh, I have this cool pasta thing that you like bake in the oven with cheese and it's like good. And he's like, great, serve it to my guest. And they did. And they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. Because it's still amazing. Mac and cheese is still really good.
So mac and cheese, I did not know. Are there cookbooks? Like, I think that'd be a tough sell, a slave cookbook.
There's a book called The President's Kitchen Cabinet. And it talks about all the different black people that have been in presidential kitchens since George Washington. I'm so embarrassed that I can't remember. I'm picturing the author's face. I was on a panel with him. He does a lot of that. He's a food historian. So like there are plenty of food historians that have tracked these sorts of things. And then there's that new Netflix show that is based on Dr. Jessica Harris's book from the High on the Hog, which is based on her book High on the Hog. And that talks about like the entire history of like how food made its way from Western Africa to the US and how our food culture came from, slaves.
So mac and cheese, any other classic foods?
Peanut butter. But a lot of people know that because of George Washington Carver.
Yeah.
What's another good one? I mean, pretty much any Southern dish that you've ever thought of. Succotash is a cool one because that's a combination of Native Americans and like, you know, Gullah ex-slaves.
Sure.
That, like, they're like, oh, white people fucked you over? Oh my God, same as me.
Yeah.
What's that? And they're like, oh, it's corn. They're like, what's that? Oh, you do beans and tomatoes. And they like put it together. Now we have succotash.
It's definitely tough to, if that's like, what's your favorite kind of food?
Slave food.
Slave food.
I have the servers telling the guests now, because I was serving a lot of Italian and French, and like since the pandemic, I've started serving like much more like American, and people are like, well, that's not a real thing. And I'm like, well, that's fucking racist. So wait, it is a real thing.
So the American people cuisine. Thinking that American food is not a genre. What do you say?
Correct.
Genre?
Yeah. Correct. Yeah. Genre.
That's racist to like, you.
Big time. Yeah.
So explain it how.
Because a lot of American cuisine is based on like African American cuisine.
Interesting.
But because that was who was doing a lot of the cooking in the house.
Comfort, like lower,
like
it's
very lowbrow.
It's not like associated with high end.
Correct.
Like,
but if you think about the most famous French dishes, it's the same. It was peasant food.
It's the same.
It was cassoulet and beef bourguignon. And, you know, what's it called? Coq au vin, which is like using an old hen from the yard, not like the king's food. But that's humanity. But I tell the guests, the servers, be clear to the guests, like if they don't like the braised collard greens, you can just tell them they're racist. And then they'll have to leave a tip, you know? It's a great move.
Sure.
The downside, right?
This is the downside.
So,
you grew up, where were you born? You were born in...
I was born in Philadelphia.
But you grew up in Oklahoma.
I grew up in Oklahoma.
When did you move to Oklahoma?
Kindergarten.
How long were you in Oklahoma for?
Till senior year.
Wow.
And then a year when I like fucked up in college and I had to come back.
Yeah.
So talk about college, because you left college?
Yeah, I dropped out of college.
And where were you going to college?
I went to DePaul University in Indiana.
Oh.
That's a good university, right?
Yeah, it's good. Small private liberal arts school.
And what happened? What were you majoring in?
Oh, I didn't get that far. I think kinesiology, because I was like, no, I like sports.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And they're like, great. I was like, can I turn that into like a major? Or like, is there a major where you like watch football and basketball?
Mm-hmm.
I should have gone into journalism. That's what that is.
I see.
Then I would have been able to watch sports, but I'd have to write a lot. So yeah, kinesiology was like my major. I had a lot of fun, a lot of fun. And there's like some destruction of like property. There's some like issues with my RA. And they eventually asked me not to come back the following semester.
Really?
Yeah.
How forcefully asked? Said, hey.
They sent me a letter that was like, you're not coming back next semester.
Wow.
And then I was like, fine, whatever, fuck it, I'll go to OU. Like, it's University of Oklahoma. I love the football team.
Yeah.
And it's like, not like, no offense to anybody that graduated from University of Oklahoma. It's a very good school. My mom worked on the health sciences campus, et cetera, but like, it's a fucking state school. And I was like, I'll go here now. And they're like, no, you're on academic and social probation from an accredited university. You can't just attend school here.
How pissed were your parents?
Pretty mad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what, were you drinking too much? Or were you just a party guy? Or?
I was drinking a lot, a whole lot. It was mostly the drinking. So I became a chef, so I could continue with what my major had been.
Now, were you cooking as a kid? Were you always into cooking?
My mom says that I learned how to cook out of self-defense because I was in a single parent house. And so food was there always. It wasn't like I was like, oh, well, my mom worked 6 jobs and like, peanut butter crackers was a mighty fine meal. Like, no, like we had, it was fine, but like my mom didn't cook. It's not a thing that she's into. She was like, no, that's just making a mess.
Yeah.
So like cooking would be like microwaving the ragu so that it's warm and then putting it over the boiled pasta and then shaking the cheese out of the green cylinder.
That's what I did for lunch.
Yeah. So that's not my favorite meal. So I started cooking a lot for myself. I also love sports and like started learning about nutrition. It was like, I'll get into nutrition and food,
Where did you learn cooking? Were you just getting cookbooks out? Because this was pre-YouTube.
Yeah. So my mom would work from like 7 a.m. until like 8 or 9 p.m. So she would pay somebody to pick me up from school and drop me off at the library, which was excruciating for a little boy. I was so angry about it. And there was nothing to do there but fucking read.
Yeah.
Which is horrible for a little boy. But like I eventually started like finding things that I was interested in, and I learned about nutrition, and then eventually I liked sports, and then I combined the sports and nutrition. And then when I dropped out of school, I was like, oh, I'm going to go to culinary school and learn how to make healthy food, but like really delicious healthy food. And that's where I discovered duck fat and butter, and foie gras, and like.
Were you talented when you were like in high school? Like, did you have a
cooking?
lady over and like make a meal and like impress?
Oh, yeah, I think I tried. I was not very good though.
What's like the fanciest thing you made?
But you were doing it more than probably most.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is Oklahoma, so like everybody thought I was weird. Like they're like, he ordered the chicken panini. I don't even know what that is.
Yeah. Oh my God. Do you remember like in like the 80s and 90s, like sushi was like, was like labeled as like rich people, like it was like associated with like that person's great, like or they're like really like frou-frou liberal, like like there was a thing about like you were really elite or something, or weird or uptight, or
especially you grew up in uptown New York, so I'm sure it was very like.
And I grew up in a deep red state.
I mean, I'd never had sushi till, I mean, probably definitely never growing up. Never, maybe, I mean, it probably like 10 years ago was the first time I had sushi.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
I grew up with
Isn't
sushi.
That crazy?
We had a pretty, first I had a lot of Filipino nannies. There was a big Filipino community. So like I had like, for a Jew, I ate a lot of rice growing up. A lot more rice than latkes.
Yeah.
And then I was so into anime and manga that I would go to get my Japanese Pokemon cards. Like I would get the, in advance before they were translated. And so we would go to the Japanese market. So I was eating seaweed. I was eating sushi. Yeah. I had a kind of a little bit of multicultural, but in terms of cooking, I mean, fanciest meal. If you're treating Nicole for the first time in your marriage, what's the meal you're going to make now?
Well, I learned how to. I have a homemade pasta maker now.
Nice.
And I within the last year, I make pasta all the time now.
Really?
Homemade. Yeah. I love doing it.
It's therapeutic.
It's very therapeutic, and it did inspire me to start doing other things too, because I was like, I've never had done anything like that. And then we went to a friend's house and she was making it, and we kind of, I was like, oh, can I help?
Yeah.
And then that night I bought a pasta maker, and I love doing it now.
In the pandemic, there was a moment in the beginning of the pandemic where I said, okay, here we go. I'm going to learn how to cook.
Oh God.
And
you did try it for a bit.
Make some sourdough bread.
I didn't do the sourdough bread. That seemed like advanced. Oh. I made like lasagna. I made chili.
Yeah.
I was happy about the chili. And then the best thing I made was fish with ratatouille. And that was good. And that was like the last thing. Mm-hmm. Now it's just omelets. I can't. It's not in me. The waiting, especially because I had an electric stove and now it's fire here, and I had to take out the smoke detector because I kept setting it off.
First thing I do in every apartment.
Really?
Yeah, disconnect the smoke detector.
Someone saw it and they were like, where's your smoke detector? And I was like, oh, I'm getting batteries right now. You have to, right? They're super sensitive.
They're super sensitive. And like, in order to like properly sear something, like we just don't have the ventilation in most apartments in New York City.
Sure.
No.
Like, so it's just like, if I'm actually searing something, like I just open the windows and I turn on the vent. But like in a pro kitchen, like you can cut onions, you don't cry. Because like the suction is so much. People fart on the line all the time. You don't even know. The little known fact about restaurants, the cooks are all farting.
Are you, if there was a fire, are you like kind of like, you know what to do?
That's the thing. In my apartment, it's not that big. I'm pretty sure I'd know. And if it's like, I mean, so big, like, I mean, we're either going to die or we're not. Like, it's not like, I don't have like a sprawling estate. It's a 2-bedroom apartment. Next time.
He's like, where's your smoke detector? We're either going to die or we're
not. You know?
It's 2 options.
Yeah.
We can't sue you if we're dead.
Yeah. So you drop out of school. Your mom's pissed.
Oh, yeah. First, especially for like black folks. Like my mom was a doctor. My dad's a lawyer. Oh. My granddad was a surgeon. His wife was a doctor. Like back when they didn't even want them to go to medical school. And then like before that, they were still like educated. And I was like, I think I'm going to drop out.
Did they lay that part on you when you were like gonna drop out? Were they like, you are? They
didn't have to. That was like it was a little. You understand guilt. It was just there, like always. It was you stand on the shoulders of your ancestors, and I was like, cool. You have allowed me to not have to do this shit. congratulations, you've made it. I'm like all the yuppies that are like, nah, I don't want to. I'm just going to live in Brooklyn.
That's part of it. It's like you succeeded so much now like a white failure dropping out of college. Now you made it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's the level of making
We've made it.
That's the thing. I can't. If my dad said to me, "You're standing on the shoulders of your ancestors," I would laugh in his face.
Yeah.
I would like, you didn't even talk to your dad.
Yeah.
So you dropped out.
Yeah.
Were you freaking out, or were you like,
well, I got like a little depressed because I had to go to community college in Oklahoma City. Which community college out here really isn't bad in New York. It's not like in Oklahoma City. Like in high school, I was taking classes at that community college and I was like, these professors are fucking dumb.
Yeah.
So I actually had to like enroll. And that's when I went through my like massive drug phase because I was like, I don't need to be sober for these classes.
What drugs? Any favorite?
Molly was fun because this is like
you were taking Molly and then going to class?
No, just like in general. Class was a couple hours out of my day.
Okay.
No, I'd smoke weed in the parking lot. And then go to class. And like, I remember like one of the professors talking about like, oh, you don't need toothpaste. It's mostly sugar. And I was like, I'm sorry. You can't tell these dumb kids that. That's not true. There's sodium fluoride. Please don't tell them that. Like, you may as well be brushing your teeth with a candy bar. And I was like, Yosemite Sam, stop. Like they believe you.
You're like the Goodwill Hunting for nutrition.
So yeah, that community college was a little depressing because there's like, special needs kids in my class. And I was like, I am with the people currently. And this is where you are in life, Michael.
There's people in that class that still to this day quote that professor that you don't need toothpaste.
100%.
It'd be like brushing your teeth with a candy bar. Like, there's one thing. There's definitely two people in that class that's what they took away from that class. They don't remember 100%. Anything they learned in that class, but they remember that they don't have to brush their teeth.
To be fair, I'm one of those two people. Like, that's all I remember from that class.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking like, because I guess like, well, if the meth's going to take out the rest of the teeth, then what's it matter?
That's so funny. There's so many things about in school all the way through where I don't remember anything that we covered, but I remember like the teacher doing one thing one time that was weird. Like I remember one time a 6th grade history teacher told us like first day of school, told us like what he liked as Christmas gifts. And he was like, don't get me aftershave. I don't use it. And I remember thinking like, this is so presumptuous. I would never get you a present. Like,
what class was this?
It was like a 6th grade history class.
6th grade.
And it was my first day of school at this new school. And I remember thinking like, this is insane. Like, why are we're talking about Christmas? It's September. Like, it was just like the craziest thing to do to be like, to presume that we were all going to be getting him gifts for Christmas. And that it's been that much of a problem that he's been gifted so many things he didn't like.
He's got 3 drawers filled with aftershave. He has to be
like, guys, I don't like that. I just was like, and I never heard anything.
What happened to an apple? Not that I was
doing
an apple.
It was just bizarre.
I do not think I ever got my teachers gifts.
What are we,
It was a private school. They were doing okay.
Yeah.
I bet you they weren't doing okay.
Probably not. I had a teacher.
I think sometimes private schools get paid less than public school teachers because they don't have to have all the things.
That's true.
They don't have to be accredited. They can just be like people who,
I made one of the. I mean, this is not a proud moment, but I had a Latin teacher. I hated Latin.
You made her cry.
No, I didn't make her cry, but could have come close. Where she they were throwing a party, end of the year party or whatever, and she was like telling us to bring pizza and bring like all the things she wanted us to bring, and I think I made some comment like, I feel like the school should pay for that or whatever. And Sheila was like, they don't give us anything. It's coming out of our money. And that's when I kind of learned like, but also you're not doing well.
Then you can't have the party.
I agree.
It's also weird to be like,
you can't put it on me.
You're like,
I'm 13. Why do I have to pay for this?
Why would I be paying for this party?
I agree.
Sending a note home to the parents being like, the school's not paying for it. I like to, like, it's very weird, like, to expect anything, Like,
I was a terrible, like, not a terrible student. I was a terrible student as in, like, I would not want me as a student. Like, I was not pleasant because I didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
But I definitely, similar. I had interactions with the teachers. I had one teacher that had to apologize to me in a way that I thought was super, like, because what happened? I was talking during class and my buddy was talking too, and she stopped him and was like, hey, you need to You need to stop talking during class. I was like, yeah, you need to stop talking during class. And she goes, well, that's the pot calling the kettle black. And I was like, why is it a black thing? And she goes, oh. And then later I got called to the office. I was like, oh shit, I'm in trouble. And they were like, Mrs. Rice has something to say to you. And she's like, Michael, I'd just like to apologize. And I was like, oh my God, you guys are so dumb. Oh, you guys are so dumb. But I love how sensitive you're being. But I was being a shitty kid.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
The pot calling the kettle black.
I was like, no, I understand the phrase.
As a teacher, I'm sure that teacher, what year was this?
I love imagining
98.
I love imagining
that's early to feel that level of guilt.
That's very early.
In Oklahoma.
In America.
She probably read a book about how to have a black student in class.
Oh my
and what
God.
you should do.
I love imagining her changing the name, the phrase, like that's for the future.
Calling
she's
the
like,
pot
that's
dirty.
That's like a sterling silver pan calling whatever, something silver
or whatever
gray.
color pot you're using. Like she's just
off white.
I remember that we had a class, or there was some assembly, something had happened at my school. I'm not sure what, but the Latin teacher went up and quoted some old Latin phrase where they were saying, like, you know, about like, I will not let my soul be black from the plague, blah, blah, blah. But it was old language where like the way that they use the color system, it was white and black in terms of their soul. And then a teacher who was like a very progressive kind of black teacher stood up and he said, my soul is black and I am proud. And I was even at that age where I was like, because it's not like this Latin teacher was in a position of power. So it was just a brutal shaming. She was just quoting Aristotle, who didn't know any black people. I mean, I don't know if that's true. I don't know his history, but neither do you. You just know about the fucking aftershave.
Black people existed.
but it was just one of those things where, the color scheme back then, it causes some problems now for sure.
Man, I can't believe you had a Latin teacher.
Yeah, I switched to it because I was failing out of French. I have horrible vocab retention. And it was the only thing I was doing like bad.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy to teach that.
So useless.
They taught Latin at the school that I was supposed to go to. I switched schools between 6th and 7th grade, but they made you take Latin so that you do better on the SAT verbal. Because if you didn't know what the word was, you could guess. Said,
and like it maybe helped you with 2 words. That was their line. That was their line to stay in existence. It helped with SAT. I used to have a joke. It never did well, but I said I took Latin. So when someone says quid pro quo, I know that's Latin. And that's it. That's all I remember. It's a good joke. Fuck you. And
I nodded.
Yeah.
I didn't say boo. I said boo.
So you're in this community college, your life's a mess, Molly, drugs, but you're kind of into nutrition. You're into cooking.
Yeah, at that point I was still like, I'm going to work out and I'm going to like go get back into sports. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I didn't do that. What happened? The big leap happened when I left the country, spent a semester abroad in South America.
Just part of the college or just on your own?
It was on my own. It was an Outward Bound course. You remember those? But this one was like an entire semester. It's an outdoor leadership school that's meant to like create character, but it was created by hippies.
Okay, so not too expensive?
My mom paid for it.
That's nice.
Yeah. I think she also was like, yeah, get your life together. That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
And so I went super duper sober, like very sober.
Before you went there?
No, while I was there.
While you were there.
All we did was hike like from ocean to ocean, and we rock climbed, and we like did whitewater kayaking and stuff, and like very, very outdoorsy stuff, very clean living. I was very mean. That's what I learned about myself. So like we did at one point, like the very first activity was we hiked like so many kilometers, literally, this is in Costa Rica, from the Pacific Ocean. We picked up some sand like on the beach and then hiked to the Atlantic Ocean. And then like picked up some more sand and like put them together for some reason. I don't know. Again, it was run by hippies. And then, so like it's me and 16 strangers hiking across a foreign country through the jungle and it was like a 2-week hike. And you bring a backpack and like a tarp, and like everything has to be biodegradable. So like no soap, no deodorant. Like you're like, you wash yourself in like a river and like use leaves to wipe your ass.
That's the brutal. That's the.
So I was the appointed the poop shovel, which was I was
for
willing
everyone?
to take it. Yeah. Because they said, who wants to carry this? It's very heavy. I
appoint you.
It's a big responsibility because it's heavy and you have to carry it everywhere.
Oh, but you're not digging the holes for everyone.
No, they just, if you have to poop, you have to come to me.
I thought you had to go and dig the hole for everyone's poop thing. I was like, that should not be one person's job.
I would call racism on that.
Yeah.
No, just if it it would get to the point where I was like, Sarah, you have to poop again? I've given you the shovel 4 times this morning.
People have to go and ask for the shovel.
Because I'm the one walking through the jungle with it.
You know?
I do not like that at all.
Yeah.
I know. And then it should just be like every couple hours you put the shovel down and you go, all right, we're all just going to like turn our backs.
Taking a break.
If someone needs to use it, just put it back when you're done with it. Also, everyone's then touching that shovel.
That's correct.
For me, they'd be like, where did all the leaves on the trees go? And I go, guys, okay, I have a hairy ass.
So then after we do this 2-week hike with strangers and all the circumstance, they brought us into a room. We finally got the shower and everything. They bring us into a room afterwards, and there's a circle of folding chairs with one circle in the middle. And one by one, you had to sit in the circle and let each of the other people that just hiked with you and just met you give you constructive criticism about you as a human being.
You know what's so funny is that we kind of do this stuff at acting school.
Yes,
and it's very interesting how like other people... You just have to do it. It's just something you have to do. And you either do it at acting school in an air-conditioned room or with folding chairs in the middle of the jungle. And what did they say to you? I could use that now. I feel
it's very good.
I could use it now.
But at the same time, they didn't tell me anything I didn't know.
Yeah.
They're like, it seems that when you get stressed out, you purposely say things that are hurtful to other people. And I was like, is that because you're a fucking cunt, Cheryl?
Oh.
Were you allowed to talk back during the thing?
You were supposed to say thank you or nothing at all.
Oh.
So it was just, but I still,
so they didn't say
I couldn't stare. So I was like, go ahead.
Oh,
all right, what do you have to say?
Oh, that's that.
And again, like I was like shredded because I wasn't drinking, I wasn't smoking anything, I wasn't sniffing anything. I was eating very like fruits and berries and stuff, and like I didn't even masturbate the entire time. Just I wanted to push myself. For 3 months.
God damn!
Wow.
Yeah, I'd become a bit of an asshole too.
Yeah. I was a little rough, but I was like super, super sober.
Is it one person saying everything, or everyone's going around?
Each person, one at a time.
Oh, I would be so bad at doing that to people. Like
you couldn't be honest.
No, I don't think I could. That's probably the worst thing about me.
What would you have said? You'd be like,
well, I don't know you, but I think I would. What
would you say to him after?
I'm too much of a people pleaser to which is a problem for me. To probably do the exercise in the right way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I also feel like it's not necessarily useful if people have known you for a very long time because you have so many ulterior motives.
Yeah.
But if I was talking to a stranger that I've known for a week and like a very like we had to do a lot of tasks, I feel like I could be like, just so you know, and I don't need to deal with this ever again. But you suck. You suck. You shamed me when I asked for the poop shovel for the 3rd time that day. I've been eating berries. Give me a break.
Yeah. Oh,
that's what it was.
Yeah.
We did it in college. We did something like that junior year of college. So it was like a blood fest of like, well, Connor, finally we meet. And I get to tell you, you're a piece of shit. You're a clinical narcissist, I think.
Yeah. You said that to someone?
I'm not sure. I probably wasn't too mean, but there was a couple people that like it shook the class up for sure.
I mean,
3 years is enough time.
Oh my God.
I can't imagine you dealing with that well. People telling
no one said anything bad to me.
Aw.
So okay, so you do this program. It
was in the middle of the jungle that I was like, you know what? I think I want to be a chef.
Really?
It's the only thing I enjoy doing. And then I was reading Anthony Bourdain's book too.
Oh.
Like sitting in the woods reading the book, and I was like, I could be captain of this pirate ship. That's something I could do.
Now, did you know that you had the skill? Like, did you feel like, you know what, I'm really good at this?
No. I thought, I knew I had willpower. I knew that like I could do stuff. Because like, again, like I just hiked from one side to the other and I was like carrying all the stuff. And like, I'd done like through sports and like all these things, I had done very difficult things. Yeah. Physically, mentally taxing things. And I was like, I think I can do this. And I had met other cooks and chefs in the past, and I was like, those guys are fucking morons.
Sure.
Like, I should be at least able to like practice really hard and maybe be serviceable
Did you like food?
Yeah, I loved eating.
You loved eating.
I was also a wrestler in high school, so I did a lot of like weight dropping, and like I vividly remember just like staring at Emeril Lagasse making like Super Bowl tailgating food, and just like in my trash bag after like an 8-mile run, and just like drooling on myself. Yeah. And I was like, oh, if I, there'd be no war in the planet if everybody just got fed.
I always think.
All my dark thoughts come from not having good food.
Yeah.
Do you have, what would be the term, an articulate taste? Like, can you
articulate what I am tasting?
Yeah. Like, or do you think like your taste buds are more sophisticated than the average person? Because I feel like, my girlfriend's picky. And I don't know if I'm like, I just don't care. It all tastes good to me. But like, I'll eat something that someone will call like, this is not very good. I'm like, tastes good to me.
It's probably just the not caring factor. One of the things that they tell you when you graduate from culinary school is like, hey, just slow down and taste. And what they mean is like, think about what it is that you're tasting. Because like, we're the same. Like I have an educated palate. I'd say that.
Sure.
I have an educated palate. So like when somebody says like, this is too, it was too, I don't know. And I was like, sour, tart, acidic. Is that what you're going for? Because that's what it is. That's probably what you have a problem with.
You cunt.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, that's what I'm thinking. But I'm like, would you like something else? Okay, let's get you something else. Maybe you want a grilled cheese sandwich. That'd be good for you. Yes, it would.
That's what I always think about when you ever see the show Below Deck, because they have a chef on there, and like these rich people will come on who like have the worst taste in things.
Most
but chefs must see this all the time, that they're like, think that they're asking for like good things, but they have no idea like actual good things.
Well, rich people probably eat so much nice food they think that qualifies them to understand.
There's something that they actually have really bad, like it's just like what they want is grilled. They want that like correct. That, but they don't know.
If there's anything I've learned in the Hamptons with private chefing, it's definitely like you're going to crush with a good burger and hot dogs. Yeah. That's what they actually want to eat. And it's not that much different in the restaurant. Most people want meat and potatoes like across the board. When I've been cooking the Bahamas at like members only resorts, or if I'm in Midtown Manhattan, or if I'm like, if you're dealing with a bunch of like rich, white dudes, like they just kind of want meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
And it's really like more the younger, like Brooklynites that are like, yeah, but like, is this like a sustainable, like local boysenberry, or is this actually just a huckleberry?
Yeah.
Because tell you the truth, they look like blueberries. Like that's, you know what I mean? Like that's who you're going to have to deal with. But like, I'll still like, depending on what the deal is, like, I'm like, yeah, this is good. I'm not necessarily always like in student level focus on what it is that I'm eating. But like, it definitely depends on how much I'm paying.
Let me ask as a tangential. So my girlfriend has the cilantro allergy.
Yeah. It tastes like soap in her mouth.
Mm-hmm.
My fiance, same thing.
Okay.
Wow.
So
I'd never heard of this until...
And she's Filipino, so I know about the Filipino nanny cooking.
Mm-hmm. Mine's Jewish. And it is very challenging because this interaction happens. First, she won't say that she's allergic because she says when she does, it causes chaos. The kitchen, there's all sorts of stuff. Because then they're going to worry about
dried coriander seeds and...
But the things that she deals with this, that I've now witnessed fully, here are the couple scenarios that happen. One, they say it doesn't. She does like a cute check-in. It comes back. She tastes it. She can taste it like that. And she says it does, and they challenge her. They say it doesn't. And then eventually they go back to the kitchen. They find out it does. We just had another meal recently. We got the soup. There was cilantro all on the top. She had asked for no cilantro. They said, don't worry, no cilantro. So she said, oh, can we take this? So they go back. They skim it from the top of the soup. There's still cilantro in it. So then they bring it back. And then she tastes, there's still cilantro. And they go, oh, okay, we'll make a new bowl. And then it comes back. And then there's an egg dish at the bottom with some cilantro in it. She can't eat it. And I watch her when she's taking a bite of like a new dish. And it's like this. She goes, and I'm watching like, please, dear Christ, like a guy cutting the wires of a bomb.
Yeah.
Please don't have cilantro. And I don't know what the solution is, because I understand from when I was a server for a little, just being scared of the chefs or everyone's busy. I don't know how to communicate. If it has cilantro, it cannot work. It will not work. What's the solution?
You got to eat at more expensive places, I think.
Okay, what's the second
solution? because that's truly, I mean, like the amount of effort that you're gonna like, because when you're paying really top dollar, people are like, oh, fine, just make it the way that they want it. Because like, I don't know, you're probably eating at Asian places or Latin places.
Yeah, but even like I get shakshuka a lot, and we went to a shakshuka place where she normally has some of my shakshuka. She ordered it. It had cilantro in it. The server was like, no, it does. And they say it like that. No, it doesn't. And she's like, I know it does.
Because normally it shouldn't.
I know, but there was a new recipe. We found out later. She talked to the chef directly. He was like, oh yeah, we started a new recipe with cilantro. But the waiter will say to her, you're wrong. And even I, once in a while, part of me is like, maybe you're wrong. Maybe you're wrong. And that doesn't go over
it's
well.
It's so hard to imagine it. You know what
it's
I mean?
tough because I've tested her. I remember early on in our relationship, I was like, you don't like cilantro, go fuck yourself. We'll see about that. Because she eats everything. Like we fell in love because she asked whether I would be offended if she ate the marrow out of the middle of her ossobuco, like on a fancy day. Yeah, exactly. I was like,
oh, I love marrow.
It was a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So I would mix the cilantro, I'd blanch it, I'd shock it, I'd puree it, I'd mix it with other things like mint and like, stuff. And she'd be like, this is good.
No,
it's good. And then she's like eating and I'm like, oh God, she does taste it.
She knows.
Fucking hell. It's fucking hell.
But like, I mean, they should know how to do it without cilantro.
Sure. It's just people think, I think they think, if there's a little, or we got rid of the top. Like, I understand the thinking of like, we'll take it off the top. And it's like, no, if there's a piece in it, it's a piece of soap in the meal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, God.
It's just a real thing. And I think it very much depends on the venue. But then even if you go to nice restaurants, like, there are times if you go to Butter, depending on who's working, they might be like, I'm not going to ask him that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like one of the nicest chefs, but by and large, like people are like, I'm not going to ask. Or they're just being lazy.
Sure.
A lot of lazy waiters out there. A lot of them.
Yeah.
Most of them.
Yeah, waiters have it too good.
Yeah, it's the tips.
So, all right, culinary school. You go to culinary school. Which one did you go to?
The Institute of Culinary Education, when it was on 23rd Street. Now it's downtown. Beautiful view of the Statue of Liberty. And
how many years is this program?
9 months.
Now tell me, any downsides to culinary school? I imagine some of them are scams.
Oh yeah, it's a huge waste of, it's not a waste of time. It's fun. It's so fun. Like your whole job is to like, you give them a bunch of money and then you come in and cook some recipes.
Yeah.
Do you eat the food at the end of the day?
Correct. And so
that does sound like
I was the youngest person by 10 years in my culinary school class. So like they didn't even want to take the leftovers home. They're like, no, that's okay. And I was like, are you serious?
Oh man.
I don't have a job right now.
Yeah.
Like I take that stuff back. I was living in student housing out of the New Yorker hotel.
Yeah.
Because the like school's website had something. So I was having a great time bringing back all this food. It was all kids that were going to FIT. Well, girls that were going to FIT and a few other acting school kids.
Yeah.
And so I was like a hero bringing back like cakes and like, the security too never complained about like any smells coming from my room or complaints. Cause I would be like, do you guys like lamb? Here's an entire rack.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Like, you guys like chocolate? Cool. I brought you an entire boudin bouche.
Yeah.
But
so
you were
like
young.
It was fun.
You were,
I was like 21.
Do people not go there that young?
I was 20 going on 21. Yeah.
Do people like go there later in life or?
ICE, it has a lot of career changers. That school in particular, because it's not a long program like CIA where they're going to have you do like prereqs, like in like a accredited university or
Sure.
Johnson and Wales where it's like, this is a school. ICE is a 9-month program. So there are people that do it that like have no intention of working in the field at all. And there are people that don't want to be chefs that will go there. And they're like, yeah, no, I want to get into food styling, but I want to go to culinary school so I have a better base. So it's super fun, but it's not like I learned some stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
Some.
Did you start to say I'm talented? Did you start to like go like I think I'm really good at this? Like when did you go like when did you so you finished culinary school, you did okay, you passed?
Everybody passes because you paid for it.
Sure.
Like you paid for it. There's no studying.
Failing.
Like you're supposed to go home and dice carrots.
I could find a way.
And it was like you need to, but it's not like at some point like That's not a brunoise. Get the fuck out. Like, they don't do that. They're like, you paid for it. Your knife skills are terrible. Here's your certificate.
And is that certificate useful at all?
No. As an employer, I have never been like, hey, prove to me that you actually graduated from culinary school. Because if you graduated from the top culinary school, I'm going to be like, welcome to the kitchen. You're going to be very shitty at this. And that's okay. Just work really hard on not being shitty at it.
Because they don't teach you the actual skills that you need.
You have to cook for years. You have to cook for years before I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of savants out there, but most people are not. Most people like come out of culinary school and they're like, I get it. And you're okay.
Yeah.
Like, I think like any other industry, you know, you go to acting school doesn't necessarily mean that you finish and you're like, I am now an actor.
No.
I have learned it all.
No.
Like, that's not, you know what I mean? Like, it gives you a little foundation. The best part about that school is it has like a work placement program. And I met my mentor as a substitute teacher. She cursed out my buddy, Giulio Menino, because he was doing the homework from the night before while she was trying to give the lesson plan. And she's like,
what do you mean? He was making a soup? And she's like, what are you doing? We're making lasagna today. What does that mean?
Why are you still making a soup? It was like, so there would be questions on like it was literally like a 9-question sheet of paper.
Okay, it was a piece of paper. I do
like
like the idea of someone trying to sneakily cook.
Yeah.
Bourdain said that he snuck bouillon cubes in and he would put it in his soup so it tasted better. And a little MSG.
Is there as much yelling as it's depicted in
these days? Not as much.
I imagine that.
Not
like
as much.
I imagine that cool. Like people were like, whoa. We saw some of the chefs get big.
It's as minimum wage has raised. I've noticed that the yelling has gone more away because the cooks are more capable of hiring lawyers.
Wow.
And just, you know, modern era, it's not as cool as it used to be. It's still like, I lost my temper on Saturday. I threw a plate for the first time in years. And the general manager, I went to apologize to him. I was like, hey, I'm so sorry that I lost my temper.
Where'd you throw it? You threw it at the wall?
Yeah, I threw it at the wall. It's scary because it's been so long, you like black out. You're so angry, you just black out. You're like, what happened?
I've never been in a room where a plate was thrown at the wall. It would be scary.
I mean,
been years.
That's what happened? What was the plate moment?
Do people hear that in the restaurant? No.
We're one floor below the dining room.
Oh, great. No.
It could have happened that night that you were there. You would have no idea.
Yeah.
And I'd come out and be like, hi, how are you?
Yeah.
Like, you have
I feel great
shards in
now.
your forehead.
No, we bleed all the time.
Yeah.
It's raspberry jam. No, it's a culmination of things.
Yeah.
And then it was in particular that like the catering directors talking and the GMs like talking and the like, you know, food runners are like, well, I need this. And then our servers like, I need 36. And they're like, well, I still need 23. And they've been waiting long. And that's when like just smash, get the fuck out. Everybody the fuck out.
Yeah.
No white jacket, out the fucking kitchen. Sorry. Oh, uh-oh.
That's so funny. No, it's still there.
And you know what's funny? I went to apologize to him. He goes, nice to see you back. I'd be
that guy. I like
some people
a little
love
anger.
It.
I gotta say, it's a
after
tough line.
The bear came out. That's what people they're yelling. You know,
do you like is things like the bear? Is it like, listen, whenever an art form, whenever a job is depicted on TV, I'm sure if you're an ad agent watching Mad Men,
of course,
or a music person watching Empire, is it cool or is it just like, this is not what it's like? He didn't throw a single plate in this episode. It's not realistic.
I mean, you know, it was, and first of all, everybody's experience is different, and there's so many different facets of the industry because there's so many different types of restaurants.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Working at a Chinese restaurant in Flushing is very different than working at Danielle, which is very different than, you know, working at Butter. So there are a couple things that I'll always get that I'm like, oh, they nailed that. Like in the very first episode of The Bear, he kept looking at the clock, and I was like, oh, nobody's ever bothered to do that. Like I spend all day just looking at the clock. Every minute of all day, you're looking at the clock, and you're like, cool, all right, yeah. And so like when somebody's talking to you,
because
you're
you're timing certain things, or you're just like
you're timing your day, like
and
what you need to do. Yeah, because like he's in that episode, he's particularly looking at like it's almost 5 o'clock, and that same thing happens for me where I'm like, you're talking, and I have 10 minutes until tickets are going to start pouring in, but you're still talking, so I'm going to listen to you for another minute. And then it's also you are timing things, and you're looking at like when you're in my position, you're looking at when did they get their apps? What time is it? Okay, they can't complain yet.
Yeah.
Or like, guys, are you not looking at the clock? It's been 46 minutes. They've been waiting for a salad. Like, they're going to walk out. They have every right to. I hope they do.
And what does The Bear get wrong? Or what do cooking shows get wrong?
What I thought was like hilarious in The Bear is how mean the chef was when they showed him in his Michelin starred restaurant. But that kind of meanness doesn't go very far. When he's just like,
yes,
why?
You're fucking, he's just like,
you should be fucking dead.
Yeah.
I laughed. I laughed out loud. Gordon Ramsay makes me laugh.
It was so like absurd. The level
types of yelling at that you would get, or at least in my experience, was much more hurtful.
Yeah.
Because it would like attack your integrity, and like cooking is all about integrity, right? Like you're doing an art form that like nobody's going to really watch you do unless it's like on TV while they're throwing like slime at you. And it would be like, I thought you were getting better and I thought you cared about this, but clearly you don't. That's hurtful. That would get me good. That was like the kind of thing. And was there yelling and screaming? Sure. But in those moments, you're just like, put your head down. Make sure nothing hits you in the head. It'll be fine.
Do you consider yourself an artist?
Yeah, it's just it's a different type of art. Yes, but then sometimes I'm just a fucking cook. Because it's like, dude, you're just a cook. Stop being an artist. Like, I have to say it.
Yeah.
Where like if like there's a kid and they're like, they want chicken fingers, and like, we don't have any fucking chicken fingers. I'm like, are you a cook or not? Can you not bread and fry some chicken? Bread and fried chicken is for a child. Yeah. Like, grow up. And make them some French fries too. Matter of fact, make them from scratch. Don't go into the freezer. Like, come
on. So you found a mentor, in college, in culinary school.
In culinary school, yeah.
And then what was your first job at a culinary school?
Was at Butter Downtown.
Downtown. Wow. And was it super new at that point, or has it been there for a long time?
It had been there for almost 3 years. Yeah. And yeah.
And how far is this from you being on Chopped?
Couple years.
So Chopped, to me,
that's when I started to think I had skill. To answer your question from much earlier.
When you won Chopped?
Just before that.
Like,
I was in the kitchen. I was like, I am not getting yelled at. And she is trying so hard to find something to yell at me for. She's yelling at me for other people's stuff.
Is Chopped a risky show to go on? Like, I want to be on America's Got Talent, but as a comedian, there can be risks because you could bomb, they could edit it horribly. And then all of a sudden people search my name. The first thing that comes up is an 8 million viewed video of me bombing and Simon Cowell saying, you're not very good. Yeah. And I watched your episode, and there's the woman who they found bone in her fish. And I'm like, well, they had 30 minutes. Like, that's the biggest part of Chopped is like, why this insane time crunch? But that's part of the game. That's what makes it fun.
That's kind of part of the game.
But like, I just imagine one of them was like a private chef, and I'm like, people are going to look up your name, and you left bones in the fish.
And you're going to lose work. It's true. I mean, at the time I was so overworked. I was very young, and I didn't care much about anything. Yeah. So I was like, whatever, I'll go on.
10,000 is not enough.
That was a ton. I was making $8.50 an hour.
Is Chopped one episode, or is it
It's one day.
Yeah, so
you get there at 6 in the morning and you're done at 10 at night.
You're like on it for weeks.
So I turned down Top Chef for that very reason that you're talking about, because going through the interviewing process, they called me. It was the first. I was like, "Am I getting the call? Like, are you?" And they're like, "You're getting the call." And I was like, "You're asking me to go on this show?" And they're like, "We are." And I was like, "Okay, all right, let's go through the interview process," which is several weeks. And as I was going through it, I was like, "I don't think this is the right show for me to go on, at least not at this time, because there's a chance that they could show footage of me just not the way that I want to be represented on TV." Yeah. And like, I even talked to some, because I had several friends that had gone on, and I was like, yo, Bruce, like, I know you. Like, how did you, like, or weren't you worried about, like, at some point they're going to catch you? He's like, yeah, but like at the same time, me and my wife were adopting a mixed race baby. So I was gold. And I was like, shit, that's right.
I saw you leaning in Chopped. You're like, first in my family to drop out of college. So I need to win this.
Yeah, my friends definitely reached out to me. They're like, so 10,000 is not a lot of money. And I was like, not to you, motherfucker.
$8.50 is insane. That's all you're getting paid at Butter?
$8.50 was what I was getting paid. The nicer the restaurant, the less they're likely getting paid.
Why?
Because you can now put on your resume that you worked at, let me not name these super nice restaurants, but if you work at a 2- and 3-star Michelin restaurant, you're going to get paid nothing and like it.
Has it gotten any? What about you? You how are your people paid now?
Oh, very well.
Very well.
Especially since the pandemic. Actually, yeah, surprisingly, because we're only open for dinner. We're not open for breakfast or for lunch. And we've gotten to a point where I've made the margins work so that everybody's getting paid well above minimum wage. So
as the chef, are you also in charge of the financial breakdown?
At this place, yeah. I mean, that's not a constant. You're always, as a chef, responsible for like the food cost and the labor cost in the kitchen. That's almost always and the labor cost in the kitchen is always like the thing that ownership's going to go after, because you can't like, oh, let's just not run water for like half the time and we'll save on our utilities. Like, oh, you know what? Just turn off the lights like around 8 when things slow down, and then we could save a little, you know what I mean? And like, we have to buy the food and we have to buy good ingredients, you know? Yeah. You can try and buy cheap ingredients, but like, that sucks. So then where can you cut? Oh, okay. You know what? Maybe we don't need that guy for like 50 hours a week.
Sure.
That sort of thing. So like but at Butter in particular, all the finances, I report directly to the owner.
So when you won Chopped, does that change anything in your trajectory? Do people go, ooh, we'll give you a raise, or ooh, come work at our restaurant, you won Chopped? Come work at our restaurant. The way we work, we give you random ingredients and you have 30 minutes and then you serve it to a person.
No.
It didn't change anything, really.
No, I also didn't even have like a smartphone at the time. So it wasn't like I could even like post online. Like, I'm a Chopped champ. Like, social media was around, but like, you know, like.
Do you deal with chefs that you're like, they're not really good, but they have a big social media following? Like,
there are
we all have that version in our career.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there are a lot of those. And
there's some people have to eat it and go like, this sucks.
I mean, I feel, but like, good for them. I want everybody to make their money. Like, go get your money. But like, there are some people that are like, Chopped champion. And I'm like, that's neat. It's a game show. I mean, Chopped requires more cooking skill than some of the other ones. But like, Cutthroat Kitchen, I went on that and won, and it was straight up a game show. Like, they'll make you like ride a tricycle and like chop stuff on a bucking bronco, a mechanical bull.
It's just like,
I can't imagine.
That's even funnier like than the time thing, because it's absurd. It's like, but like, we would never be put in this position where like you're like, maybe if you're on the Titanic and it's sinking or something, like you're like having to like chop stuff while it's moving. But like that's
what it is.
I can't imagine all the food pitches, because we talked about it once.
Oh my God.
We were being interviewed for a possible food show. I just feel like food shows are like easy to conceptualize.
Yeah.
And so they were going to do one. They were like, well, we're going to send you to the restaurants. You eat everything on the menu. And we were like, you mean like a bite of everything?
Like
they said,
we try everything?
Everything on the menu. And so we were like,
meal.
What? But that's impossible.
They go, what would you be? What do you think about that? And then we were like, we just, every episode would be throwing up.
Like, that'd be the whole episode, is you being sick.
Like, that was the craziest, dumbest pitch of a show I've ever heard.
Sure, but I'm sure we're cooking, but they have to do it upside down. They're cooking, but in space with no gravity.
Yeah. And to answer your question, like, it definitely is clear. Like, nobody knows what the exact formula of getting a James Beard Award is, but it's certainly clear that going on TV does not help you get one.
What is the James Beard Awards?
It's like the Academy Awards of cooking, or at least it was. It started to get in a lot of trouble in the last, decade.
In America, or is this international?
In America. So James Beard was a guy that was here in New York. He has a house that you can still go to for dinners. They have like basically a supper club that's run out of there. That's very, it's prestigious. I've done 2 dinners there. Well, I've hosted 2 dinners there.
Where is that again?
The James Beard house. Yeah. It's downtown. Yeah, it's here.
Oh, wow.
You could walk by it. There's a plaque, and it's the house that he actually lived in. And it has like a kitchen that like is very big for a private residence and very small for a professional kitchen.
Yeah.
But like as you enter, you have to go past that kitchen and upstairs. But they also have done for a very long time these award shows. So they have like, best wine program, best new restaurant, best restaurant, which is like best film, best director, because they have best restaurateur. They have best chef. And now this says a lot. They've changed the categories recently, but it says a lot that for the longest time it was best chef Northwest, best chef Southwest, best chef Midwest, best chef New York, because New York gets its own category.
Yeah.
Because like, I know a lot of people in Chicago and whatnot that are like, yeah, we've got a great food scene. And I'm like, you do. It's amazing.
It's funny because it's just like, it's the same with stand-up comedians in New York. I feel like every art form in New York, we're like, well, this is
the center of the universe.
Plays.
Guys, come on.
It's the center of the universe. What are you talking about?
Now, granted, New York has its own problems, and like there is some more adventurous food that you can find elsewhere, because here you have to be like the San Antonio Spurs. Like you have to be like, you can't be too artistic, because if people don't come in and eat your food, you'll be closed.
Yeah,
because our rent is so incredibly fucking high.
That's interesting.
Like,
are there any chefs that like they're like, not everyone likes them, but they're avant-garde.
There are plenty of those, but not here so much.
Sure.
Like in New York, you can't get away with it so much. Like you have to live in San Francisco, and then you can charge people $1 million for like some really avant-garde cool food, which I love that food. I also like McDonald's, like, you know, because we're talking about like the Dominique Friends and the Ronald
McDonald's. That's the thing.
If
I was about to die, if last meal, McDonald's fries, man, it's a mix of nostalgia. It's just, I love it.
I'm glad you brought that up. That's the question. What would be your last meal?
Oh man, that'd be hard. I think it would be probably my mom's mac and cheese.
That came from slaves.
Yeah, I guess so. Not from my mom.
How slavery is your mom? How slavish is your mom's mac and cheese?
I guess
on a scale of 1 to slave.
Pretty slave. It's very good.
Okay, yeah, so it's super slave.
Yeah.
Mom makes a mac and cheese extra slave.
Oh my god. How about you?
I mean, it's tough. It changes a lot.
It does change.
A cheeseburger.
A really
is
good
definitely
cheeseburger would be like is always good.
If I'm about to die, like that's it. And like a milkshake, because I'm lactose intolerant. But if I'm about to die, then fuck it.
Milk.
Just a glass of milk.
Some shit for those guys.
A glass of milk and a cheeseburger is
glass
amazing.
Of milk
and a cheeseburger.
Whole milk.
Yeah.
And a cheeseburger.
Yeah.
Instead of a milkshake?
Definitely.
That's wild.
Milkshake doesn't feel like I'm getting any sort of
nutrients?
No.
Because you're about to die.
No, we don't care about that. The doesn't feel like I'm getting like I'm like able to. It feels too thick to like.
Sure.
You're not washing down the burger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I'd still need a Coke. Like I'm not gonna.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Good Diet Coke. Good Diet Coke.
I had a question. If you had to think of, and it's a hard question for you probably, but if you had to think of like top 3 food experiences or meals or things in your like, just like,
this is the downside.
Well, I don't
it's getting way too positive.
Get to
you
talk to
my worst 3 meals ever.
Well, we could do that too. But I'm like also just like just to hear like.
I'm glad that you said it like that.
Thing when you have a meal that is like holy.
Because I hate it when people ask me like, "What's your favorite restaurant?" And I'm like, "Well, restaurants have good days and bad days."
Exactly, and it's all.
I hate it when people say, "What's your favorite thing to cook?" I always say like your mother, because that's a stupid question. I don't like that's too. Come on, What's your favorite joke?
Yeah, exactly.
What's your favorite joke?
Sure.
Be funny.
Many.
Wait, be funny real quick.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah.
But favorite experience that I've had.
Yeah.
So Alinea is way up there. I really, really enjoyed it. I was nervous about it. Me and my fiance flew to Chicago just to eat there. And like when we got there, they're like, well, your table's not quite ready, and we don't have a bar, so we can walk you next door to the place next door, and you can have a drink there. We do it all the time. The place next door, by the way, is a 2-star Michelin restaurant called Boca. It's a very nice restaurant.
Yeah.
And like we were sitting there like drinking. I was like, yo, I'm nervous. Are you nervous? Like we're about to drop like $800 a person on a meal that we flew like halfway across the country just to eat. Like, what if it sucks? And she's like, I'm nervous too. And then we sat down and the waiters were like, are you guys nervous? And we're like, yeah. They're like, don't worry. And it's like, like pudgy, bearded, like dudes that just make you feel comfortable because they're like, nah, the food's good, you're gonna be good, like here, eat these rocks. And you're like, what? And they're like, just kidding, they're not rocks, they're painted like rocks, it's actually a seaweed and calamari infusion. And like the whole thing was so absurd that it was really like literally they come in and they like pour dry ice over these flowers that like cover the entire table, and then you eat the flowers because the amuse-bouche was all edible flowers and dishes based on edible flowers. And then they bring you into the kitchen and you're making this like elaborate. Funny enough, they were like, do you have any food allergies? And she's like, should I say cilantro? I was like, just tell them cilantro so that they don't have to. The second course was a romaine heart leaf with fresh coriander, pickled pickled coriander, fresh coriander, dried coriander, cilantro leaf, and then the root of the cilantro that very few people ever have access to. And I was like, aren't you glad he said something? And then the dessert is this guy became famous because he would paint the dessert on the table.
Yeah.
So they come and they drop what looks like a vase of flowers in front of you, like on each table. And then they come around and at one point somebody like grabs it and throws it in the air and it crashes on your table and you eat it. And then like in other tables, they just smash it and you like eat it. Like it was absurd. And then they that's the place where they invented the edible balloon. So like literally you eat the string from the balloon as it gets closer, and then you just like eat the balloon, and then everybody's talking like munchkins.
Oh my God.
Amazing.
Wow.
I was like,
that's
holy
wild.
shit.
I want to go there.
This is amazing. Grant Atchis is like, he's a genius. That was way up there. Momofuku Ko in their first year, the first year they were open when it was still just the 8 seats.
Yeah.
And like I stopped talking to my companions because I was so angry because I was a hater. I was like, I don't get why everybody talks about David Chang. He seems like a dick.
So funny.
Yeah. He's getting all this clout. I see him at the James Beard Awards wearing like multiple medals. I ate at Sambar. It's a fucking burrito. And then I ate at Ko and I was like, holy shit. That was like 10 years ago. The amuse-bouche was a seared scallop with olive tapenade and broccoli rabe soup, then a biscuit with a super molassesy gel and some chicharron. There's an oxtail consomme with tortellini. There's a venison with elderberry jam and aerated sunchokes. Like I remember almost the entire meal. Yeah. Oh, the shaved frozen foie gras.
If you did a quiz where I had to answer what all those things were that he just said, I would get about 20% correct. Is it sad? I mean, restaurants go downhill
all the time.
The thing is, what's hard about restaurants too, I feel like, is that you can have an experience like that. And as someone, when you have it, you want to do it again. And a lot of times, even if you're going back and it's not bad by any means, there's a special thing that happens sometimes with food and what's happening that day. It's so much a part of the experience that is impossible to recreate. It's not the restaurant's even fault.
No.
It's so like you've come in with this energy,
central, man.
You've come in with this thing. And so the times that you remember in your life that are so special, obviously the kitchen and the thing was having a top-notch night, but also whatever was going on in your life is a huge factor in it.
100%.
And it's so hard because there's so many times you've gone to a restaurant, you've had this magical thing, and you're like, you want to bring someone, and it's not that it's not good. It's often very, very good, but it's you can never live up to it when it's that
like
good.
Sex.
Sometimes, yeah.
You're just gonna recreate that moment, be like, wait, but like, all right, what if you go to that side of the bar, I'll come to this side, we'll just try to recreate that exact same night, and then we'll do it over here, and then like it'll be magical. And like, no, good luck.
Yeah.
Even if you're just trying to do an anniversary thing, you're like, yeah, that was nice. It's really lovely. We went back to the place that we went to that one time when we were younger. It was great. Oh, it was a lovely weekend. Yeah. It's not the same thing.
Yeah, no.
Now, before we go into our next segment, biggest kitchen disaster you've been a part of, like biggest fire or food disaster, spilling of beans. What was it?
So there have been so many disasters. I'd say way up there. I mean, Mother's Day 2017 is like a day that will live in infamy for a long time. That was really bad.
Butter.
At Butter Midtown. Yeah, 2017 when this guy thought that this girl was covering this guy and vice versa, and neither one showed up, and then this guy was like hungover and called out, and then this guy felt like showing up an hour and a half late, so it was just me and the pastry chef and the celebrity chef who had just dropped by to like, because it helps for people to see like, yeah, even though she's a mom, she's here on Mother's Day. And so like nobody was there, and I was starting to and I was only there to like kind of get them going.
So the celebrity chef is there to help?
Yeah, she was really there because we were like, go touch tables. If you're seen in the dining room, people are going to be like, oh my God, she's here on Mother's Day. This is amazing. I had the best Mother's Day.
And she's doing it. Is she getting paid for that day, or she's just like...
No, she kind of never gets paid for the restaurant.
She just likes to come by.
She hired everybody.
Okay.
Damn near everybody. I mean, I hired at this point, like, no, the people that have lasted are all the people that like were there when she was new, that there are a lot of 20-year employees there.
So then what, how did the day go?
It was like, cause I was like, wait a second. Oh shit. Where is everybody? Oh no. And like, I'm looking at the clock and I'm like, okay, so at this point I need to start setting up that station, which would take a normal person an hour to do. and this would take an hour, and this would take an hour, and this would take an hour, and we have an hour until service. And I was like,
it's very stressful.
And that's where I'm like, oh shit. And she's like talking, and I'm trying not to alert her to just, no, they're all on their way. And she's like, okay, are you sure? It seems like this is a lot. No, just like go to the dining room and go away and don't come back at all, and it'll be fine. And like I'm trying to like calmly with like a smile, like set up all this shit. And then eventually the tickets came in, the jig was up, and 200 people sat at the same time. And I've never, like, just the printer was just on the floor. The kid that was across the way that was supposed to be reading the tickets to me was like, I don't know what to, do you have a, and the manager, who's the coolest, calmest guy ever, Nick, came down and was like, hey guys, what's going, oh shit. Because just all these orders just lined up, and like the kid's holding another 20 orders in his hand.
God.
And for the first time in a long time, I kind of froze up, and I was like, I don't know what to do first. And eventually I got to my, and literally she's crying, tears just rolling down her face. She's like, this is not how I wanted to spend my Mother's Day. And I'm like, this isn't how I wanted to spend my Mother's Day.
Yeah.
And all right, I'm going to make 10 of this omelet, 10 of this omelet, 10 of these burgers, 10 of these steak and eggs, 10, just send them wherever the fuck you want. I don't care. And as I'm doing that, Nick like went upstairs, pulled a chair out into the middle of the dining room, stood on top of the chair and cut the music. And was like, hey, can I get your attention? I'm sorry. There was a small explosion in the kitchen. It was gas related. Don't worry. Everybody is fine. Please do not be alarmed. However, people have been hurt. Please do not be concerned about the ambulance that you might see outside. You're welcome to wait for your food, or we can make you reservations elsewhere. Antonio will be fine though. That's really the important thing, is that everybody's going to be okay. Cause then if you're mad, it's like, dude, you're not a human being? Like, lives were almost lost.
Oh my God. But now, because you told me that story, if there's ever an explosion, I'm going to say, shut
Bullshit.
the fuck up. I want my steak
People
now.
however, they're not here. There's that Curb episode where it's like the small disturbance in the kitchen. They're at like a restaurant, and they're like, the waiter comes out and is like, sorry, there's been a small disturbance in the kitchen. And the whole thing is like, what was it? What is it? And it's like just being like vague about,
because I've seen fist fights, I've seen knife fights,
knife fights in the kitchen.
Yeah, I mean, well, it was a knife versus a pan and a towel.
Oh,
but like a shield versus a knife.
Do people continue working together after that sort of thing, or there's firing?
Yeah. Oh, there's usually firing, but like,
yeah,
you heard he threw a plate, and they said, "Good, you're back. The king is back." That is amazing. That's such a bold move.
I was so proud of him.
He clearly he knew there was no option.
He saw what was happening and was like,
there's no way.
In New York, it makes me think there's so many sirens in New York. You really could be like, guys, you're going to hear an ambulance.
You're going to hear an ambulance.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. That was really bad. I mean, there's another health inspector story. I'm not going to tell that.
For a second though, did you think like, has there ever been a time where they don't have the mind to lie and just go, sorry guys, no dinner tonight?
More often than not, they're just like, the kitchen sucks. So, and then and I'm just like making it happen. But like, I've never failed like that before. There have been nights where I'm like, that was horrible. And usually there's one server that's like, my section was fine. There's one server every night, no matter how horrible it was in the kitchen. And no matter how many plates I threw and like fires I put out. And I'm like, oh my God, that was a fucking disaster. We're going to have to retool the entire menu. There's always that one server who's like, I didn't notice a difference. Everything's fine. I made a lot of tips.
How do you feel about servers?
I mean, that's the thing. That's why there's that animosity, because like at $8.50 an hour, the servers were also making like $5 an hour plus tips. So it turns out to like $25 an hour. And so there's always going to be that animosity, because the front of the house will get paid well. Like by and large, like the average server usually makes as much as a sous chef.
Jesus.
Whereas you're a line cook just busting ass for years to try and get to that level. But like, you don't get in it for the money, right? But there's still some part of you. That's why like a server might be like, hey guys, thank you so much. Have a good night. And the cook's like, go fuck yourself. Burn in hell. Oh, you taking an Uber home? That looks nice.
Yeah.
I'm going to go on the subway and get back to Corona. Awesome. Thank you. But at this age, at this point, like I run the whole show. So I'm like, guys, without them, there's no us, and vice versa. And guys, don't ever talk about your money in front of them. Don't do it.
Yeah.
And I see the payroll like in its entirety. I see the finances in its entirety. So it's different. I have a different perspective. I'm not so, but there's still a part of me. It's like, guys, don't complain about your day in the kitchen ever.
Sure.
Even if you have the same exact day, like they probably got burnt and cut and are sweating because there's no like air.
Sure. But a lot of those servers wish they were on Broadway right now.
That's true.
And so for them, they're paying.
And those are definitely the best servers.
Also, they have to deal with people. Like,
True.
well, I mean, they have to deal with people too, but like, I just think of sometimes when I'm with like family members and the way that they talk to servers, it's very.
No, the tips are good.
It's awful, and you shouldn't.
Oh, yeah.
The problem is that like if they had the exact same day, it's not just the burning and the cutting. They're making more money.
Oh, for sure.
So and the cooks, like they don't deal with the plethora of like awful people, but they usually deal with like one really awful person.
Yeah, the stress of
and
like
then they go home to like no money.
I mean, they're making the literal food.
I'm exaggerating because I'm genuinely very respectful to everybody that works with me because I care about like them and I've done that job.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's like there's no point in yelling them right now. Like, go faster. I presume you're going as fast as you can.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
So just keep going as fast as you can. You're doing great. I'll tell you what you need to do.
All right, let's go to our next segment.
This has gotta stop.
This has gotta stop. Is there something that's got to stop either in, it could be your own life or it could be the cooking world, restaurants, the awards, TV shows, anything. What has to stop?
I think this is a very tough question because I was thinking like, I really hate it when people say, find what you love to do and you'll never work a day in your life. And I'm like, that's like, you must be the laziest piece of shit ever. Like, just because I love what I do does not make it not work. Like it's a work. In fact, that's what makes it work. Like,
yeah,
because now it has to have structure around it instead of just like, oh yeah, I like to cook on the weekends. It's super fun. Like I love cooking. It's all I care about in like restaurants, but like it is a grind. You have to work on it. So like, I hate that phrase. That's got to stop.
I'll add on to that where like sometimes if I have a stand-up thing and it's stressful, I'm working. It's hard.
You're working.
I'm working. And sometimes people do that thing like, are you having fun? Are you, are you like, make sure you're, and I'm like, okay. There's nothing worse than if you're not having fun or you're stressed for them to feel shame that you're not having fun.
Not having fun. Yeah.
Nothing makes me at least less fun than being told I'm not having enough fun.
Yeah.
And how am I supposed to cure that in the moment?
Yeah.
Oh, you're right.
You're right. Oh, gotta remember that
this
fun.
is the dream.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that. Real quick, Guy Fieri, you like him?
He's very nice to me. I like him.
How's his cooking?
I have never eaten something that he made with his own two hands. But I'll say this, like the first time I met him, he was like, where are you from? I was like, Oklahoma. First of all, I was pissed that he was even there what happened? I was a sous chef at the time. This was at the Derby on 14th and 8th. It was a supper club. And, I was down a line cook. So I was going to be covering 2 stations. And then, Alex was like, oh, by the way, Guy Fieri and Rachel Ray are doing a party downstairs. He's going to need to cook a little bit up here, but it'll be fine. And I was like, where? Not next to me. He's not. Ugh. And then he comes up and I was like, here's this fucking guy, this clown show. And he's like, hey, how's it going? By the way, your kitchen's and then just hit me with all these compliments. And I was like, okay, all right, stop, you superstar, you. And then he's like, oh, where are you from? I was like, Oklahoma. He's like, oh, Aishin's is good. And I was like, about your people do their research. Aishin's is a fried chicken joint. They're like, I don't even think they have ovens or stovetops. They just have deep fryers. And they do fried okra, fried chicken, and bread and pickles and $3 pitchers of beer. That's all they do.
That sounds good.
It's heaven on earth. Except for the racism. It's heaven on earth. Yeah, it takes a while for me to get it.
Like, I cannot wait to go here.
One of the oldest bars in Oklahoma. The place is magical.
It's just everything, like just the Guy Fieri dropping in by the kitchen. It just, I'm obviously making it about my own experiences, but it's just the famous comedian dropping into the club. It's just the hierarchy and the art and the work. Yeah. It's all the same shit.
It's all the same, especially in New York. It's all the same shit, and we're on top of each other, and it's constant, and like there's never a dull moment.
Okay, are you okay for a second?
Yeah, why?
I just one thing I did want to ask, and I only know about it tangentially, but there's a degree of in terms of like when it comes to like race and cooking certain dishes, I feel like there's been a conversation about like, why is this person speaking on like, some Jewish guys like, here's how to make pho correctly. Yeah. How do you feel about it, given that it does feel like cooking is part of it is cooking different dishes?
It's true.
And one might go, oh, I don't feel connected to whatever my culture's dish is. Do you have any overall feeling about it?
Overall, no. Everything's conflicted, because it's art. So I'm conflicted about all of it because, like,
are you okay with Russell's mom making mac and cheese to begin with? Or are you like,
no, that is offensive to me.
Stop. Actually,
that has to stop. I was going to wait until the show was over to be like,
stop Russell's mom making mac and cheese.
Your mom is clearly a racist and needs to stop making mac and cheese. No, like, because I'm like, wait, am I destined to only be allowed to make a fine dining version of like what my ancestors made? I have a conflicted ancestral history. That's not fair. Like, and so, my feeling is like, we're not all just one thing. So like, fuck it. And there are no rules. I say that all the time in the kitchen. I'm like, there are no rules. The beauty of me not being French or Italian is that I can shit all over their tradition and do things that like a Frenchman would go, sacre bleu, you cannot do this. That is not how you, oh my God, this is not coq au vin. I can be like, I used like, I used some pancetta and some bacon and some guanciale instead of just, and that's actually like not even a chicken. I put a turkey in there. It's fine because I don't have to live by those rules. So that's how I kind of feel about it. And I don't like that people are beholden to like only cooking from their ethnic background. Mm-hmm. I get that seems more genuine to people, but like,
but also then like I could see that if you're in that thing, you'd feel so limited. You'd be like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore.
And also, that's not how food works. Like, I got into an argument with an Italian in Reggio Emilia about how America doesn't have a cuisine. And I was like, well, your cuisine's borrowed from a lot of people. He's like, it's Italian. And I was like, okay, but what's that mean? Like, so like nothing is like influenced by Germany. Nothing's influenced by France. Nothing's influenced by the Moors traveling here. Like nothing. Like, are you serious? How long have you been a nation?
Yeah.
Like, no, like the same thing everywhere. Like every cuisine has that. People move around and they fuck. And then they eat food. So like things get mixed. That's how it happens. Tacos al pastor. That's not Mexican. That's Arab. Like that's from people settling in an area. What's another good example? I
like move, fucking eat instead of eat, pray, love. They move, they fuck, and they eat.
Yeah. And so, that's how good food I think is made is by a blending of cultures and classes.
I guess I just imagine there's probably been a lot of like, historically, at least in America, white people being like, here's how you make pho and here's how you make this, and there was a degree of like, okay, we need to chill the fuck out.
And there's some part of me that like, because Sean Brock's like the man and like he's making amazing food and I've eaten in his restaurants and there's like the food's so good and he's genuinely passionate, he knows what he's talking about. There's still some tiny little part in the back of my brain where I'm like, that's slave food. You're using slave ingredients. All that food came here from slavery. But I'm sure he knows the history of everything. And he's truly, genuinely talking about, this is where I grew up, and this is what I grew up with, and this is what my grandparents made, and my parents made, and now I'm making this. Which is genuine. That's fucking genuine. Do you think there needs to
be a term? Because obviously I cannot say the term slave food the way that you're slinging it around.
No.
But like, what would be the way to acknowledge it?
It's just the African-American influence.
Yeah.
I mean, so... It's tough because even within that, like there's so many subcategories because there's Gullah, there's Creole, there's Low Country, all of that exists in like the same. Gullah and Geechee gets confused for one another all the time. There's like a huge regional cuisine in that like southeast part of our country where the slave trade was huge. I guess the most appropriate thing is to just say, I mean, you can call it American food. That's what it is. Just know what you're saying when you say American food. We're talking about Appalachian. We're talking about Gullah Geechee. We're talking about Creole. We're talking about Low Country. We're talking about barbecue. We're talking about, California cuisine. Sure, fine. And you can say African American food, I guess. No, that's offensive. Don't say that. Because people are going to be like, oh, you mean cornbread and collard greens and watermelon and fried chicken?
I'm not going to add that accent to it.
You totally should. You should go to Harlem and do it.
I interviewed to be a waiter at Red Rooster once.
Oh yeah?
And I did not get the job. I cheated on the test too.
What do you mean how?
they said like what wine goes with what, and I Googled it right there.
They
and I still didn't get the job.
Because you probably said like exactly
probably
and
saw you Googling on the test and we're like, he's cheating. We're not going to give him the job.
I would have 100% given you the job. I'd be like, look at that.
Ooh,
Somebody cares.
He's trying.
Somebody cares because I've given written tests and they usually write, I don't know.
They write? I don't. Are they multiple choice?
No, one of them literally the answer was sad face.
Oh.
But I was quizzing them on things that like people that already work at the restaurant on things that I would like for them to know so that they can communicate to the guests.
Yeah.
Like what it is that we're making. And I literally just sad face.
All right, let's go to our last segment.
You better count your blessing.
You better count your blessing. You want me to start it off?
Yeah, you go first.
My blessing is Tova's in my room. I don't think she can hear it, but she was coming. She came back from a trip. We hadn't seen each other for a while, and I was like, I should get something nice to come home to. And a flower shop opened right across from me.
Wow!
And I was able in 5 minutes to just get a bouquet, leave it, and she loved it. And now I'm just like, I think I'm going to be.
Shop?
It's to have a flower shop right next to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could end every argument anytime she's mad at me. I'm going to be keeping this thing in business. I'm going to be living in a terrarium soon.
Yeah.
Just filling it with bouquets every time
that's nice.
she's mad at me. And so it's nice. And it's nice to get your girlfriend flowers.
Yeah.
And it's nice when it's just a little more convenient.
Yeah.
Russ, you have a blessing?
I don't know. I feel like a lot of nice things happening right now.
Do you have like friends that came to your show?
Oh my God. I was going to say something else.
No, what are you gonna say?
Friend.
No, what's your?
I was just thinking it's Chrissy Boys, but he's not gonna hear this, so I'm not gonna give him a fucking shout out. But it's his last show with Uncle Function in New York. So I'm feeling extra. I don't know how to describe it. I feel he's led the Uncle Function ship.
Just so people know who this is, Chris Cafaro, member of Uncle Function.
Look him up. He's a member of Uncle Function. He's this member. If you're watching this video. And
the camera cuts off
just above Hillary Clinton, right?
Just above Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, got him.
And Jess will love that. So he has pretty much been the leader of Uncle Function, right? He's been our leader, our president of Uncle Function for 7 years, and he is leaving. He's moving to LA. We have our last show ever with him. It already happened.
It already happened by the time you hear it.
It already happened. We already shed tears. You missed it.
There were plenty of seats too.
There were. You're gonna come, but you didn't. And I'm thankful for him, and I'm really gonna miss him. And I'm also thankful Gianmarco and Tova came to my show yesterday. That's very nice.
I'll have my ode for Chrissy Boy after LA.
Oh yeah.
When all the tears are shed.
Oh,
I'm worried it's gonna be
we got all.
Chris is gonna cry. Chris is gonna make a speech.
We're gonna try to get all. We have a decent amount of industry coming to the LA in theory, and then it's just like us crying on stage, being like, they came to LA and we're like, this is it, we're done as a group.
It's funny if we start crying during the last sketch because it's me in a thong with whipped cream in my ass. And if we're crying like that, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Do you have a blessing you'd like to share?
Yeah, I've had four packages in a row that got delivered to my building, and they did not get stolen from Adam, the guy in apartment number 19 that's been stealing everybody's shit.
He's been stealing. You know who it is? You know he's been stealing?
The cops said that it's not been enough that they're going to bust into his apartment.
You have camera?
This beautiful human being on the second floor pressured the company, the realtor, what's it called?
The landlord.
The landlord enough to
camera?
Then she taped a photo of him, a security photo of him walking through the hallway, like with a package under his arm. And she's like, his name is Adam. I forget his last name. Apartment number 19, blah, blah, blah. And all of us were like, it's you, So the cops
Have
apparently.
People been confronting him?
People are all, we were just talking to the people that live up on his, because I'm on the second floor. It's all walk up. And then on the third floor is where he is. And the girls across the way were like, oh yeah, people are at the door all the time. Like if anything's missing, they're like, open up, Adam. I want my roller skates, God damn it.
Have you seen this guy?
I haven't seen him I work different hours than people, so I usually don't see any of my neighbors.
Adam.
His name's Adam, though.
Adam, and if you're a listener.
Often I'm like, and I put up a note. I was like, I want those size 10 Nikes. I want my dog chew toys back. Like the woman on the first floor teaches like special education, and was like, hope you enjoyed the toys. Like he takes everything.
Special ed toys.
Adam.
He could be special ed. Let's.
And he's playing with the toys in the park.
No. He's a robber. He's a robber who knows what he's doing.
If you saw him, what would you say to him? If you were in the elevator and you said hi,
do you know what I'd say to him? I'd say, good afternoon. And then when he got off the elevator, we're like, that guy.
You get drunk, you text me like, if I see this motherfucker,
I will fucking kill him.
Okay, this is coming out September 27th. Is there anything you want to plug other than your restaurant? Or say your restaurant too. Let them know.
Yeah.
I don't think any of our listeners can afford butter, but go ahead.
I don't make any money off of butter doing well. I just maintain my salary, so I don't need to plug them.
For sure.
I have a New York Food and Wine Festival dinner on October 14th, but it's already sold out. So I don't know that I really need to plug that either. Stay tuned.
So if Downside listeners come to Butter and they go, can you let the chef know?
By the way, our prices are super reasonable considering inflation.
Yeah.
Considering inflation.
Yeah.
And Midtown. And the current market.
If Russell came now after this, and be honest. If
Russell
came now with his wife and just saw you and said, hi.
Full honesty.
I'd
be like, who the fuck are you? No, I'm just kidding. How do I know you? I know you from somewhere.
Give them an extra crouton.
No, I do it all the time. I'm like, you know what? Tell them that their desserts are on me.
That's very kind.
I do that all the time.
We didn't even cover how, but I guess I'll ask you off the pod. I was gonna ask how he knew Lindsay, but that's not. I don't know if that our listeners are interested.
I'm sure they're fascinated.
I just was curious because I know Lindsay.
Well, if they're reality TV show fans, then they'd be interested. That's our common connection. Is Ariana Maddox from Vanderpump Rules.
Oh, you're both friends with. Oh,
she used to work at Butter.
Oh, okay.
We got to get her on the pod.
Yeah.
All right. Anything you want to plug?
September 27th. Everything that's happened in my life is done. I have nothing on the docket as of now. Follow me on Instagram, and I'll reshare Gianmarco's things every day. And
we made 2 sketches.
At
I'm
Russell
very proud
J.
of
Daniels.
them.
Yeah.
We're gonna make some more sketches.
There'll be more shows in November, December, but I don't know right now what is happening in October.
And we made sketches, was what I was saying. We made some Downside sketches.
We did.
And if you're a fan, share them, and we're gonna keep making some more.
Yes.
We got a penis related one. We're excited.
Do we?
To do.
We do. Yeah.
Who's the guest for that?
Don't forget the Patreon.
Oh, thank God, Jesus Christ!
Wow.
If you like the Downside, remember we have a live show that we do on Amazon's new AMP app. You can download it for free in the App Store. Above Average produces it. And you can listen to us 4 to 5 p.m. EST every Tuesday with a guest. And if you don't want to listen live, join the Patreon. It's patreon.com/downside. For $5 a month, you get to listen to all of these episodes ad-free. You get all the AMP live episodes recorded after the fact. You get to listen to them. And all the old bonus episodes Russell and I did that were very problematic and will get us in trouble one day. And extra goodies. Extra stuff coming down. We're going to figure out merch soon. You'll get early access to that, maybe even some free if you do the $10 tier. Patreon.com/downside. Even if you don't want extra Downside, it's a good way to support us. And if you have any merch ideas, let us know because we're thinking about creating some merch.
And if we hit 500 Patreon subscribers,
we're going to have sex.
Something crazy is going to happen.
That's what you thought we were ready to pitch it? We haven't decided anything. Once we hit 500, we're going to do something.
It's either
maybe just fingers. And remember, whether it's you trying to recreate your first time at a great restaurant or recreate your first time having sex or recreate anything, life is just
you can't recreate it.
You can't recreate it. It's just gradually disappointing.
No.
Enjoy it in the moment. Enjoy it in the moment.
Because one day the moment will be over.
You're trying to end it nicely.
Outside.
1, 2, 3.